for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests in the studio waiting to be profiled are author Kathleen Cox and performer-singer Betsy Ann Faiella. Author Kathleen Cox has written 2 books on Vastu. She spent most of the 90s in India studying and researching for articles, lectures, and her books, the newest of which is The Power of Vastu Living, and it's published by Simon & Schuster. What is Vastu, Kathleen?
Well, it's a wonderful science. It's taken an awfully long time to get to America. But it's a Vedic science. It's a sister science of yoga and Ayurveda. And it's the precursor and the inspiration behind Feng Shui. And it tells us how to organize our home and our space, our workspace, so that they increase our well-being and make us feel better.
How did you decide to study Vastu if it hadn't come to America yet, so to speak?
Well, I was in India, as you said, for many years, and what I was principally doing was writing the Fodor guidebook for India. So in the work that I did for Fodor's, I had to study the various civilizations, religions, and I came to discover Vastu. Actually, my friends started practicing it in Delhi, in the northern part of India, whereas Vastu has been extremely popular for centuries in South India.
Did you know anything about it in school? Where did you go to school?
I went to Columbia University. I'm a graduate of Columbia. And no, I had not heard of Vastu until I was driving. The first time I heard of Vastu, I was driving down a boulevard in New Delhi, and I saw a billboard, and it said, opening in a few months, register now, New York apart mansions as per Vastu. And I thought, apart mansions, New York? Vastu, what is this? And then I started visiting friends, and I noticed that they were all discussing and talking about Vastu.
Friends in India?
Friends in India. In New Delhi.
Americans?
No, these were all Indian people.
Indian people.
And I started learning about this incredible science that really, I noticed that these people, friends of mine who had quite lovely homes to begin with, I would go into a very beautiful living room, and I noticed the subtle changes that really did make me feel more comfortable in the space. Your body seemed to sort of relax and feel at ease.
You talked about it, Feng Shui as a science, and you talked about yoga as a science, and we've heard of those. People in America practice those. People all over the world practice those.
Yes.
It took Feng Shui a long time to get to America, I think. And why do you think that was? And then in the tracks of Feng Shui, why did Vastu come after?
Well, India takes a while to give us its wonderful products. And if you think about it, while yoga actually started to become very popular, and then it had a resurgence of popularity back in India. As for Vastu, I believe that first of all, people who know their own culture in India know that Feng Shui came out of Vastu. So when they saw that people were very interested in Feng Shui, there became this interest in promoting Vastu. But in truth, I was the first person to write about Vastu for the American public.
Feng Shui Chinese?
Feng Shui is Chinese, but Feng Shui is Chinese. But as Buddhism came out of Hinduism, the Feng Shui came out of Vastu. And it just made its way back into China.
The Feng Shui came out of Vastu, went to China.
And China is very good at exporting its products. And India is more like an elephant. It takes a while. It's very wise, and once you get an elephant moving, it's hard to make it turn around.
Tell me why they call these things scientific rather than religious.
They're not religion specific. Just, first of all of these sciences, the Vedic civilization from which we derived Vastu, yoga, Ayurveda, all these things, it was a way of life. And the whole concept of all these disciplines is that they show you how to really cultivate your inner self, live to keep your body healthy, to keep yourself spiritually, emotionally, and physically healthy. It's not religion specific. It's really about making the most of the time you have on this earth with your body and really cultivating your inner self and your exterior self.
So that's the scientific connection.
And everything that is connected to yoga, Ayurveda, also yoga or Vastu, has to do with truly scientific principles and logic. There's nothing sort of whimsical or unfounded in Vastu. There's
no guesswork.
There's no guesswork. Just as when you do yoga, and I call Vastu yoga for the home, when you do a yoga posture, you are really aligning your body. You're not just doing something carelessly. You're very mindfully controlling your body.
Did you tell us how old it was?
It's unknown, but it's at least 6,000 years old. The Vedic civilizations is extremely old, and this all came out of yoga, Ayurveda, Vastu, all came out of the Vedic civilization.
And do you have to go to school to learn how to practice?
No.
Or is it expensive? Or how do you do it?
Just the way you would with yoga. I teach courses on Vastu. I am a consultant. I do retreats, I do workshops, I do presentations, I consult. And if somebody wants to have their home evaluated as per Vastu, which is the way we explain it, I will go in and I will examine and also figure out a little bit about the person who's living there, the client. Vastu is personalized. You have to fix it so that it's right for you. The whole idea of Vastu is to look at each of us as individuals and create spaces that work for us.
Do we need to learn anything, or does
Yes.
this book teach us what we should know?
This book is terrific. If you get a copy of this book, read it carefully, you can absolutely set your house up, your workspace up. I cover all sorts of environments, from cubicles, the dreaded cubicle, to Silicon Valley kind of environments with lots of computers, boutiques, doctors' offices.
You talk about getting a look in decor. What kind of look do you think
There are
it would
three
be?
principles in Vastu, and I'll just very briefly mention them because they define the look of Vastu. First of all, you want to be very mindful of the universal rhythms that are going on around us and how they connect to our own biorhythms. We want to be living in accordance with them. You know how it is if you have to work all night, you feel really sort of ragged the next day. So similarly, if you can set your home up so it really honors the universal rhythms, you feel more comfortable. The second thing that you do in a Vastu space, which distinguishes it, you really create your interconnection with nature. You use as much organic products in the home as possible. And thirdly, you celebrate the self. A Vastu space always speaks of the person who's living there. What you love, what interests you.
So I see two things. Personality in your home, I can see doing that. I can see using organic materials. Mention some of them.
We forget, but glass itself is organic, comes from sand. It's easier to say what is not organic. Just stay away from anything that's synthetic.
Plastics.
Anything that's not good for the environment. Vastu has this connection that the human body has the same. We are a micro version of the macro version of the universe. So whatever is whatever is harmful for the environment is harmful for us.
Okay, I can understand those, but getting to finding your connection, I mean, I think that's hard for people, the first one that you talked about.
The personalizing of Vastu, well, we make it very simple.
Connecting, you said, connecting to yours.
How we connect to space? Or
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Well, but when you walk into a space and you feel that that space connects to somebody, you automatically connect to that space because it's human. It really relates to us on a very sort of visceral level. It's one reason why hotels may be beautiful, the lobbies, they may spend a fortune, but we always feel a bit off in a hotel lobby. We don't really relax because they don't identify with a personality.
Well, they're formal.
They're transitory,
Oh,
actually.
maybe that's what it is.
They are set up purposely that we don't want to stay there.
So you walk in and out.
So a Vastu space is all about welcoming. So the seating arrangement is such so that everyone, whether they're an extrovert or an introvert, feels comfortable. They can either sit back and listen, or they can be an active participant in conversation. But you're not locked into a little tete-a-tete island where your back is to somebody.
I see. And what about color? You talk about color being a part of this.
Color is a wonderful form of therapy in a space. If we can't make our space so that it feels really wonderful structurally, color has an effect on us. We all know the phrase, red, seeing red. Red is excitable. So automatically think about that. If you have a lot of red in your home, it's going to stir up your emotions. So you use less red, perhaps. If you are an excitable person by nature, you would go with the cooler, calming colors, the blues and the greens.
Yeah.
But if you have a calm personality and you feel somewhat shy and introverted, stimulate your personality. Put some reds and oranges around.
Before we leave, I want you to show the two pictures together to show the bedroom. Is it a bedroom?
No, this is actually someone's living room that I did. This is the before shot.
Let me hold it.
Yeah.
I'll hold the before.
This is a before shot, and it's very bulky, heavy, very cluttered. Vastu is very careful about using space in such a way as that we remove a lot of clutter and simplify the decor, and we use a lot of light. This is the northern part of a space. It should be light and allow the positive rays of the sun to come in.
Too much in here?
There's too much. It's too heavy in the north. The north has wonderful light.
Okay.
And
then
so what I did
was,
this is what I did in the north. I introduced asymmetry. We are asymmetrical creatures. We actually prefer to be in environments that are asymmetrical.
Oh.
So you'll see that there's a lot of asymmetry there, and the space itself is very light and airy.
Now, you live in New York.
Exactly.
You're visiting California. Is it easier to practice Vastu here or in New York?
I think you have one advantage, and that is that you have not lost your connection to nature out here. So that it's much easier for you to keep that interconnection with nature. You just look out your window and there it is. In New York, we have to really work hard to bring back the green jungle and forget the concrete jungle.
But you do. You talk about putting plants in
and nature puts us in spirit. And think about that phrase. It's inspirational, makes us go inward. The more nature, more organic you have in your space, the calmer you will be, the less stress you'll have.
Well, we thank you for your advice today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Kathleen Cox. Don't go away because we'll be right back with Betsy Ann Faiella.
How was that?
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with performer Betsy Ann Faiella, who was born in Yonkers, New York, graduated from New York University pre-med, and has performed her cabaret act at the Gardenia, Luna Park, the Cinegrill, and the Club Largo, all in Los Angeles. But she started at Reno Sweeney's in 1978. I have a feeling things started way before that.
I don't know how to take that.
I think you were a busy little person doing things.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy from a young age, it's true.
Where did it all start?
Well, singing and performing particularly.
Well, whatever.
It probably started back in Yonkers, New York with my two sisters and myself. And actually my mom was a fabulous singer. And she had a very broad sense of comedy. So we were encouraged from a really early age to perform shamelessly in front of all of our relatives, and we did that on a regular basis. So I think that's where the bug bit me, probably when I was about 4 or 5. But I didn't really...
4 or 5, yeah. Okay, good.
I didn't really jump into it until I was kind of like a full-blown adult.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you write music?
I do not write music, no.
And you call yourself a performer?
Yes.
Not a cabaret singer or singer? Or
I call myself an entertainer, but primarily I'm singing these days.
You have, I can't believe it, moved around Reno, Atlantic City, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Ventura. Ventura! What are we doing in Ventura?
Well, I lived in Ventura County for quite some time in Ojai.
Oh,
the
hippie place.
The hippie place, yeah. Yeah, I lived there for from about 1996 till just recently.
Did you perform there?
I did. I performed at the Happy Valley School at the Zalk Theater.
Oh, that's great. Beatrice Wood.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And the Happy Valley School has a great, it's not really a structured program of entertainment. They kind of go through spurts of having, you know, a Saturday night concert for a few months or something like that. But that Zalk Theater there is a wonderful, wonderful place to entertain.
I didn't realize that. I think Ojai has so many hidden little things going for it, doesn't it? I mean, it's really interesting.
It does. It is really just the greatest place.
When I'm going to have Brenda, our director, play just a short thing that you did at the Cinegrill, just to give people an idea of what you can do.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about all these other people who have come up to you and talked to you.
Okay.
The tables are empty, the dance floor's deserted. You play the same love song, it's the 10th time you've heard it. That's the beginning, just one of the clues. You had your first lesson in learning the blues. The cigarettes you light, one after another.
You have such a big presence on stage and a big, strong voice, and you're really a tiny little person.
I'm tiny. Well, I'm a lot tinier than I was on that tape, actually. I lost a lot of weight recently.
Oh, but you still can sing. It didn't affect it.
No, I have a big mouth, Joan.
Okay, good. Well, big mouth takes me to Carol Channing, who saw you at Reno Sweeney's, right?
Bless her heart, yes.
What'd
No,
she say?
not at Reno Sweeney.
Oh.
She actually saw me in New Orleans for the first time.
Oh, what was that?
That was, I was doing a show in New Orleans at a place called Basin Street South, which was Al Hurt's club.
Oh, yes.
And when I went down there to do the show, the company I was working for leased the club, and they turned it into a place called the Moulin Rouge. And we did this Broadway review, which was kind of funny to open on Bourbon Street. It's not exactly that kind of environment, but we did this Broadway review. And one night when Carol Channing was in town with, I know she was with Andrea McCardle and one other female entertainer that I can't remember. They were doing the Jerry Herman show, I think, that review show.
Oh, yes, yes.
They politely, you know, and we were so excited, they showed up at our show, you know, our late evening show to see it. And it was just a thrill to have her and Andrea McCardle, you know, in the audience. And afterwards, they waited for us, and we all came out and we talked to them. And she was talking to other people, and I was kind of waiting my turn, you know. And she turned to me and she said, "Oh, you were fascinating."
Did she?
She did. She said, "I couldn't take my eyes off you," and it was really a thrill. I got to tell you. And
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, you perform at the Gardenia, which
do.
is in Los Angeles, and
Yep.
you perform there a lot.
I do. I'm about to start performing there again this Monday night.
And what's the difference between that and something that you did in New Orleans, the stage?
Well, the difference is that these days, when I do my own show, and I get to,
right.
you know, choose anything. You know, I'm not an employee, so obviously I can sing whatever I want to sing.
And you have a wonderful musical director.
Shelley Markham, yes.
And he's done so much work, hasn't he?
He has done a lot of work. He is a writer himself. He's a wonderful musical arranger. He wrote 2 musicals with Judith Viorst.
Oh, right.
And his show that they just wrote just a couple of years ago, Alexander and the Horrible, No Good, Very Bad, Terrible Day, I think is the name of it.
I couldn't even remember that. I read that, but I couldn't remember it.
That was produced at the Kennedy Center. He's musical directed a lot of fabulous
Now,
people.
does he pick out the material for you? Do you do it together? Like, say the Gardenia show. Let's talk about that. Does he pick out the material?
No, he doesn't. He certainly suggests material for me. What I do is before I start working on a show, I start to research a lot of material, and I listen to stacks and stacks and stacks of music. And then I bring him ideas, and Shelley will say, I don't, he'll, or, yeah, oh, that's great, let's keep that in, let's put that in the maybe pile or the yes pile.
And then he plays does he do the arranging on whatever?
He does.
Oh, he does.
Yes.
So he would change
Yes.
the arrangement.
Oh, absolutely,
then-
yeah, and personalize it, and he,
And do you talk during your?
Sure.
You talk. So does he help you with the script, or do you just think of that by yourself?
A lot of it I think of by myself. He certainly helps. Shelley has an amazing sense of humor, and he knows how far you can go on stage. But for this series of shows at the Gardenia on Monday nights in May and June at 9 p.m., I'm working with Mark Arthur Miller.
I was going to ask you, because
yes.
he's the director.
Yes.
Now, does he tell both of you what to do?
No. No, and sometimes when he tells me what to do, I don't listen either. But no, but we, it's a real collaboration among the three of us, and he's just terrific. It's the first time I've known Mark for quite some time. He himself is an actor and a wonderful singer, and he's bringing a lot to the party.
You have this.
My CD.
Can I Be Frank?
Yes.
Can I Be Frank, which is a series of Frank Sinatra songs.
It is a tribute to Frank Sinatra.
Do you use these?
I will use a few of the songs in the shows that are coming up at the Gardenia. Absolutely.
Like, what would you use?
I'm definitely going to sing All the Way, which is a spectacular arrangement by Shelley. It's a great arrangement. I'm going to sing I've Got You Under My Skin. And then I'm going to sing one of the songs that Frank Sinatra is not really well known for. And it's a terrific song by Carol Coates and Hub Atwood called No One Ever Tells You. And it's a blues song. And Sinatra is not really known for the blues. So, but yeah, I'll be doing some Sinatra in the shows.
And you in the past, or on the CD, worked with some of his sidemen.
I did.
How did you get them?
Well, most musicians, unless they're extremely famous, are musicians for hire. And I feel really fortunate that at the time I wanted to hire them, they were available, and they were kind enough to do the project.
Now, could they help in any way? Would they give any suggestions, like we did at this? Yes. So that's really cool.
Yes. Yeah. Jim DiGiulio, who played bass on quite a few of the tracks, and will be with me at the Gardenia. He worked with Sinatra in the early 90s. He did the Mexico City concert, I believe. He did the Diamond Jubilee tour. He's got...
So he traveled with him, and
yes.
He's able to give you
yes.
the influence,
yes.
I guess.
He was also a pretty good pal of Frank Sinatra's, as well as working with him. So he spent a lot of time with him at home, and he's got some great stories. He's got a lot of great suggestions. And
well, one of the things that I read in your bio was what a fabulous dancer you are.
Very funny.
What kind of dancer are you? Nudie musical dancer.
Oh boy, that's Steve. I'm going to have a talk with him.
Steve Moyer at Davidson and Choi tells me everything. The thing that was so great was Steve Moyer was telling me that you played the 7 or 8 year old child, and I'm going, what? How can this woman play an 8-year-old? But now I see this little tiny person gets on stage.
Well, I'm an actress
with
after
a wig.
all.
I'm an actress.
I'm an actress, and yes, I did one of the late '70s nudie musicals. Let My People Come. I did.
Before, right? Was it before Hair? No, that was in the '60s. So
no,
it was right around.
No, it was.
Right.
I believe after Hair. I'm not entirely
sure where you felt into this.
It felt. I actually did it in the early '80s. So it had opened on Broadway or off Broadway, and had a very successful off Broadway run. And several years later, I was in the cast. And
oh, I see.
Yes, I did play a 7-year-old girl named Sally Strykermeyer.
And what was her desire?
She wants to become a porn star.
And who did she want to be like? I love those things.
She sings, the big number was Linda, Georgina, Marilyn, and me. And it was Linda Lovelace, rest her soul, who just died last week, Georgina Spelvin, and Marilyn Chambers.
And you played all of them as you wanted to be
I wanted
those-
to be
yeah,
them. So
you
my big
wanted to
number
be
was about them and how I wanted to be a
And the
a
other
porn
thing is,
star.
I had just seen the reprise of Guys and Dolls, and I forgot how fabulous the music was. You always
Yeah.
forget how great it is.
Yeah,
And you sang
absolutely.
Adelaide's Lament with the blonde wig.
Right, not in that show. Not
No,
at,
no,
right,
but
not
at another
No, I
time.
know.
When you were 7.
I did, yeah, when I was 7. Yes, I did. When I worked in Reno and Las Vegas and Atlantic City, I did these big sort of variety shows. And I did play Adelaide in, these were sort of cut and paste versions of musicals. And yeah, the blonde wig, fake pearls, pink.
You build yourself up.
Absolutely, push-up bra, very, very tight spandex dress, shocking pink. We took a lot of liberties in, because obviously Adelaide herself in Guys and Dolls did not wear a mini-skirted pink spandex dress.
Poor Adelaide.
Poor Adelaide.
Poor Adelaide.
But it was very funny. It was very funny, yeah.
One other thing that we heard that you did on Broadway, or your voice traveled to Broadway in 5th of July. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
Well,
Why your voice?
5th of July, which is by Lanford Wilson, was produced, I guess it was around the late 70s, and it was produced on Broadway in the late 70s. And there had been many productions of 5th of July, or at least several productions of it, and there's a subplot in the show where the character that was played by Swoosie Kurtz wants to get a record deal. She's a singer, and she's looking for a record deal. And so they recorded, I recorded this song, which is called Your Love and Eyes, and I recorded it with Jeff Daniels and Jonathan Hogan. And it was featured in the play for the first time. It was really kind of featured there, and Lanford Wilson himself really loved it. And so my voice essentially was the voice that got Swoosie Kurtz her record deal in the play.
And you were on Broadway.
I was, and I was on
you were on
Broadway, so
Broadway.
it was quite a juxtaposition
So
of circumstances.
Next
yeah.
time we see Betsy Ann Faiella, I want to see you standing there singing on Broadway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Welcome.
very
Thank
much.
you for being with us.
Thank you. A great
Thank
time.
you for being with us today on the Joan Quinn Profiles, and keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, 917, and we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.